Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel, The Israeli. Today I want to talk directly to the right voters in Israel. On this channel we talk a lot about how important it is for Jews and Arabs to start having honest, respectful conversations with each other, and how important it is for Israelis and Palestinians to start knowing each other again, because in the past Israelis used to visit the Palestinian territories a lot. There were quite good connections, and then everything after the second Intifada, everything more or less stopped. But before we do all that, I think it's also very important that the left wing in Israel and the right wing in Israel is able to have a conversation together. Because if the Jews on the left and the Jews on the right cannot have an honest, respectful conversation with each other, then what is the real chance that Jews and Arabs will be able to have an honest conversation with each other as well? I mean, sure, the Jews on the left will be able to talk to the Palestinians on the left, but what about the others that disagree about a lot? We have to be able to talk to them as well. So I know that on the right wing, there are a lot of narratives that build up the logic of keeping the situation as it is, or even taking it a few steps further by annexing the West Bank, and, well, there are different ideas of what to do with Gaza. And I want to go over a few of those narratives and try to understand how we can maybe work through them and move forward. Because at the end of the day, there's a recent study showed that right now, between the Jordan River and the sea, there are 6.8 million Jews and 6.8 million Muslims. Yes, more or less, it's the same. So if we go and have a one country, yeah, it's going to be one of two things. If it's going to be democratic, then it's not going to be a Jewish country, because the Muslims are going to be the majority very, very fast. And if it's not going to be a democracy, then it is going to be what all those people in the world are saying now, which is a big lie, a big, huge lie, that Israel is an apartheid state. Today, Israel is not an apartheid state. It's very easy to prove that, extremely easy, yeah? But if you have a one-country solution, and it's not democratic because you want the Jews to continue controlling it, even though you won't have a majority anymore, it will be. It will be like in Syria. Yeah, you know, in Syria, where the Alawites are 20% of the population and they control the country. And we all know how great a country Syria is as far as human rights, international relationships, economy, technology, and everything else. So the one country solution is not feasible in the way you see it, because you don't want it to be democratic, because then the Muslims are going to be a majority, and you also don't want it to be an apartheid state, and you don't give a solution. Every time people talk about this, you don't really give a solution. You're more than welcome to answer in the comment and try to give me a solution, and I'll answer it in a video, I promise. So it's unsustainable, and the two-state solution is the best solution. Of course, I also think a one-state republic, which is divided into different sectors, and each sector is promised its autonomy, while being under one umbrella, republic umbrella, it is also a very plausible idea. It can be done. But right now, the two-state solution is the main solution. Okay, so with that being out of the way, I want to go over a few timelines, points in time that are part of the narrative, not the right narrative, the Israeli Jewish narrative on a whole, because it's all true, and we have to learn how to deal with it. So I'm going to go over a few things. I'm going to show you a few timelines. Of course, the Jewish settlement in Israel has always been there. Always has been there. But we can say the first immigrations to Israel by Jews started in the 1800s and mostly in the 1900s. Yes, but I'm not talking about those time points, even though a lot happened during those time points under the Turks and under the British. I'm going to show more of the time points under the British, because those are the ones that actually affect recent events. Yes, things that happened actually 100 years ago, exactly 100 years ago, as you're going to see in a second, is still affecting us today, and there's a lot of similarities, which is also amazing. But there's one big difference, and I'm going to go over that one big difference when I talk about these different time points, because I think this one big difference is very important. Okay, so let's start with the first time point that we have here. This is the 1921 Jaffa Riots. We're going to read it really fast. I'm not going to read all of it. I don't want this video to be an hour long. The Jaffa Riots was a series of violent riots in mandatory Palestine, which means it was under British command, yes? It wasn't a state. On May 1st to 7th, 1921, which began as a fight between two Jewish groups, but developed, so two Jewish communist groups had a fight between them. Yes, they explain it here. Had a fight between them on May 1st, which is the Workers' Day, and they paraded from Jerusalem to Tel Aviv, and they met somewhere in the middle, and they had a fight. And then the police came and tried to separate between them, and then what happened is, hearing of the fighting and believing that Arabs were being attacked, the Arabs of Jaffa went on the offensive. Dozens of British, Arabs, and Jewish witnesses all reported that Arab men bearing clubs, knives, swords, and some pistols broke into Jewish buildings and murdered their inhabitants, while women followed to loot. They attacked Jewish pedestrians and destroyed Jewish homes and stores. They beat and killed Jews in their home, including children, and in some cases split open a victim's skull. Okay, and then there's another story of what happened. It was really serious, yes, and it really hurt the relationships between the Jews and the Arabs. Not that the relationships were great, but they weren't bad, yes, but this really hurt the relationships between the two communities. So this is the first time point that people point on, that you can't trust the Arabs, and they just go and kill innocent people. And here, even in 1921, there wasn't even a state of Israel, not to talk about the territories. So why was this done? That's what the right wing is asking. And their answer is because they hate us. Let's go to the next one. This video, I didn't say it was going to be an easy one, okay? 1921 Hevron Massacre. So here again, the city of Hebron holds special significance to Jews and Islam. Where is the story? So anyway, in the Hevron Massacre, more or less the same thing happened, only in Hebron. The Arabs attacked the Jewish community there. And at the end of the day, so here we go, to the killing of 67 or 69 Jews on August 24, on 24 August 1929 in Hebron, then part of mandatory Palestine, as Arabs incited by violence by rumors that Jews were planning to seize control of Temple Mount in Jerusalem. Does this seem familiar to you? The event also left scores seriously wounded and maimed, Jewish homes were pillaged, and synagogues were ransacked. Some of the 435 Jews who survived were hidden by local Arab families, although the extent of this phenomenon is debated. Maybe by numbers, but I'm sure that there were a lot of Arab families that protected Jews that were attacked, because that's not something new. That happened everywhere in the country. There were always good Arab families that had good connections with Jews and weren't about to just leave them hanging. So there's also some good stories in all of this horrible mess. So this sent a shockwave through the Jewish community, in which 133 Jews and 110 Arabs were killed. Now the Arabs that were killed by the British police that came to stop the riots. Came very late to stop the riots, but they were killed by the British police, not by Jews. Okay, so and then we have here 1929 Palestine riots. It's the same riots, only it spread throughout the whole country. And again, these two dates are used all the time by the right wing, because they say, what was the reason for the Arabs to riot back then? Israel didn't even exist back then in 1929. So what was the reason to riot and kill Jews back then? And they say only hatred. And of course there were reasons behind it. Not all the reasons were true, But there were reasons that people believed in it, and that's why they attacked. And still, the right wing has a good point here. Israel did not exist, and still the Arabs attacked the Jews, innocent Jews, just because of hatred, nothing else. Okay, and then of course we had the 1948 war, where Israel declared its independence, and 5 Arab armies attacked it and lost. And then in 1967 again, and they lost. And then in 1973 in the Yom Kippur War, which also they attacked us, and in the beginning they were winning. At the end, Israel won. Now I want to talk about the 1921 and the 1929 times, and the 3 wars that Israel had. There's a big difference between the two. And of course the Holocaust. Almost forgot to put that in there as well. Of course the Holocaust. So there are 3 things. In 1921 and in 1929 and during the Holocaust, the Jews did not have a country. The Jews did not have an army. The Jews did not have institutions that function correctly like we have today. We were all over the world, unprotected, in the mercy of Europeans, of Muslims, of different nations, and we couldn't really protect ourselves. And that's why in 1921 and 1929 we had to rely on the British police, which wasn't very effective, to say the least. Yeah, and I think maybe they weren't effective on purpose, because they wanted to create a rift between the Jews and the Muslims, and that's the best way to rule: divide and conquer. Yeah, so I think they were ineffective on purpose, because every time they were late to stop violence, the rift just grew. Yeah, and then during the Holocaust, the Jews didn't have a country, didn't have anybody to protect them, and it led to the Holocaust, to horrible 6 million murders. But then in 1948, we formed our country, and we were attacked in a very bad way, and we were able to protect ourselves, which proved why the Jews need a country. And then again in 1967, because we had to prove again why we need a country, and then again in 1973. And we proved 3 times why we need a country, which means that we proved that Israel is able to protect itself. And since then, there were a few more attacks and more wars, smaller ones, and Intifada, and Second Intifada, and Gaza, and different things, but we are always able to protect ourselves. And that is why we should be able to have the confidence to take another risk and go to another peace process. Now, here's another date that the right wing uses all the time, and that is 1993, the Oslo Peace Accords. They call it the Oslo crime, the Oslo disaster, and they are right in many ways. They are not wrong. They are right in many ways, because the situation before Oslo and the situation after Oslo, the situation before Oslo was better than the situation after Oslo. That's the truth. Things went really bad with Oslo, but I think mostly because Yitzhak Rabin was murdered. If Yitzhak Rabin hadn't been murdered, he would have found a way to continue it, because he was the glue that kept it together, but after he was murdered, everything fell apart. By the way, I also think that in Gaza, if Ariel Sharon had stayed alive and didn't go into a coma 5 minutes after doing the separation from Gaza, if he had stayed alive, he had a plan, and things would have been better. But he died as well, and things fell apart in Gaza as well. So, but we tried the peace process in 1993, and it didn't work. It led to the Second Intifada, thousands of dead Israelis and tens of thousands of Palestinians. A horrible time for everybody, and it failed. But since then, we have been going only through the way of the sword, and that failed as well. Now, if you look at the statistics, we have peace with Egypt, which was an enemy country, a strong, dangerous enemy country. We have peace with Jordan, which was an enemy country. We have peace with other Arab countries now, which we had made last year, which means that peace can work. We do have positive experiences with peace. So we had one that failed, but we have now if we take the ones last year, we have 6 that worked. So that's 6 to 1 that failed. So far, peace is winning. Now let's go by the way of the sword. From 1948, Israel's army is always the first solution for any problem with our neighbors. Yeah? So that has been 70 years of using force as a solution. And how did that work out? So you can say on the one hand, Israel still exists and prospering, yeah? So it worked out well, but look at what is happening. Can you really tell me that we can live like this as a nation? That the South doesn't know when it's going to be bombed by rockets, and then another war starts in front of a small area with a small terrorist organization that for some reason we cannot defeat? Bibi? Yeah? Do we want to continue living that way? That in the north, we never know when Hezbollah or a different organization that's going to be there is going to throw missiles at us, and then we're going to go to another war, this time with a country, with Lebanon, and which we promise next time we're going to destroy it to rubble and whatever. Why do we even have to get to those situations? Why not try the diplomatic way first? Oh, because there's nobody to talk to. Really? Really, there's nobody to talk to? Are you willing to talk only to people who kiss your ass? Is that the way this is going to work? You're going to wait only for somebody to kiss your ass, and that's the only one you're going to talk to? No, Abu Mazen is not your friend, but we can talk to him, and he proved it in the last Gaza cycle of violence. Because in the West Bank, there were a few incidences. I won't say there weren't, there were, but it wasn't a full-on intifada because of Abu Mazen. Because of Abu Mazen, yeah? So he's not our friend. He's not. Yeah, and I know everything about his Holocaust denial in his doctorate, and I know everything about his anti-Semite speech in 2018. Yeah, he's not a friend, but you don't make peace with friends. You make peace with enemies, and he proved that he can keep the peace. Yeah? During the war in Gaza that we had now, that was a perfect time for him to light up the whole area. A perfect time. Yeah? Why let Hamas get all the credit? He could have gotten some credit too by lighting up the area, but he didn't. Which means that he's not a friend, but we can talk to him, and we should. So all I'm saying is that we are a strong country with a prospering country. We should have the confidence to say, yes, we are the strong ones here. Yes, we are the ones that have more power, and we can decide that we want to go to peace, and we will lead the way to peace. Yeah? And if you'll attack us, we'll attack you back. We'll protect ourselves, but we won't do only that. Yeah? Because defense cannot be the only solution and the only tool that we have in our toolbox. Really? The country that has a list, an endless list of inventions, from space to medicine, from agriculture to water, yeah? A country that helped change the information age has only one tool in its toolbox when it comes to our neighbors. Only one, the army, that's it. That's the only tool that we have in our toolbox. That's impossible. I don't believe that. We can do much more, and we should do much more. And we should put some more tools in our toolbox to start working for peace, to start working for having good relations with our neighbors, to start living like normal human beings, and showing to the world that we deserve to have our own country more than anybody else. Because not only do we have self-expression and self-realization, we also help everybody that's around us. Yeah? Please reconsider your stance against our neighbors. This situation of holding 2.5 million Palestinians in the West Bank and not giving them a country, even though Israel is not deep inside like it used to be, and it has a lot of less presence in the West Bank than it used to be, but still they want their own country. They should have their own country. They want their independence. They should have their independence. We shouldn't be there anymore. We are strong enough. We are confident enough. We're economically stable enough. to work toward peace. And if the right wing, if you guys will start talking to Palestinians and Arabs, if you'll actually start talking and not just talk to other right wingers who tell you what Arabs think, but actually talk to Arabs and talk to other Palestinians, you'll see that they are for peace. Even the extreme ones, when you actually talk to them, when you stop all the propaganda and all this silly narratives that everybody likes repeating, these memes, and actually have a conversation, you'll see that they want peace as well. Peace is good for Israel. Peace will lead us to where we need to be. Yeah? Please take everything I took into consideration. And the people who dislike my videos and write nasty comments in the comment section, that's fine. I didn't open a channel called The Israeli expecting to get only likes and only positive comments. I really didn't. I know there's going to be a lot of negative comments as well. And if you look, you'll see I don't erase any of them. I leave all of them there. And the respectful one, I answer. Okay, guys, so this is my video for today. I think it was a bit long. I hope it wasn't too boring, and I hope it made sense. And if you have anything that you want to comment about what I said, put it in the comment box. I will answer. And if you like this content, please comment, like, share, and subscribe. Okay, guys, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.